maybe when Tom Baker showed up for the 50th, he took Matt aside and was like, there were some great ideas that I had that they never took seriously, and I think it's time that you, Matt, took up the torch and did what I never could, and get yourself a talking cabbage.
And write a Doctor Who movie script that's going to feature us battling the devil on a giant pinball table.
I think that's exactly what happened.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
The Time of the Doctor.
The Time of the Doctor.
The last ever Matt Smith episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Unless he returns at some later time.
And he could.
And, he certainly could. How did you like it?
Not very much.
Me too. I was hoping you'd like it.
No, I'm sorry. And yeah, I really wanted to like it.
Yeah, me too.
I really wanted to like it first for my own benefit because I wanted to like the last episode Matt Smith was in, but I also figured if I liked it and you disliked it, that would make for a very good discussion. But no, I disliked it.
I had a very particular reason for disliking it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was because it wasn't very good.
That'd do it,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good reason.
So that was just my main reason.
Yeah. Well, that would do it. I mean, I guess, I'm trying to, pin an emotion down to this episode, and all I can think of is that it was just really disappointing.
I think the general emotion I was feeling while watching it was just a constant state of, fine. That was basically just it the whole way through. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it was really an episode where you kind of it really asked a lot of you, and it really asked you to just repeatedly accept what was happening just so they could move on to the next thing, which you would also have to accept. And it was just a really long and tedious end-user license agreement.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah, no, I was not a fan of this episode. And I mean, there were things that I tried to latch on to like, but even those small things that I did like were just overshadowed by the massive quantity of things that I just outright disliked, and also things that were just not explained to my satisfaction. And it was just a really confusing kind of. I don't know. It's just a big mess.
Well,
the thing.
For the most part, I thought I found all of the actual explanations to be satisfactory in their explanatory power, but not in how enjoyable they were to sit through. There are a couple of points that just don't make much sense to me, or I just didn't like. But I thought that whenever they would say this is happening, or this is a thing that happened in Series 6. And here's why it happened. I'll be like, yeah, I guess that does explain that. So thank you for that. Thank you for telling me all about what was in the room in the God complex. I'm so glad we found time for that. But.
Well, yeah, I mean, this episode was 95% just Stephen Moffat bending over backwards to try and cram everything that had happened since the beginning of Series 5 into one single solitary explanation. And I don't know. And I know Occam's razor is a thing, but I mean, god damn. I mean, come on. I mean, there's no. It's just, it feels so contrived.
Well, yeah. So what's happening is that Gallifrey, having been put into a side universe or whatever, or whatever we're called, a bubble universe or a pocket universe or something, but apparently not frozen. I had gotten the impression from the Day of the Doctor that it was frozen like a painting. But apparently not, because apparently there are people on there who are on Gallifrey who are, making decisions and trying to do things. So decides that it wants to come back in through the cracks in the universe, which I was under the impression that those didn't exist anymore.
Right.
So why they still exist, I don't know, but. And so it tries to do that, and then it's bad if the Doctor says his name because someone on Gallifrey has decided, well, how are we going to know whether we can come into the universe? Well, if the Doctor says his name, but he can't, what if he lies? Oh man, what if he lies? Oh wow, what if he lies? Why does it matter? Why does any of that matter? Why does it matter if the Doctor is there and says, "Oh no, it's the Doctor," but he said his name was Frank. That's definitely not his name. Oh no, well then we can't come through to the crack. I don't get it. I don't get that. That particular part I don't think makes any sense.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe you could say that. Do we assume that there are parallel universes that the Time Lords also exist in, and I guess maybe they have unique names for the universe they're in. But I mean, even so,
I don't know. I don't know how parallel universes work.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Also. One of the big things I thought, the big thing was that it was I thought the prediction or whatever was on the fields of Trenzalore when no one could speak falsely or fail to answer. But I mean, that's all the Doctor does this whole episode is fail to answer.
Well, yeah, and then towards the end of the episode, he lies in the middle of the truth field. He tells the guy who's not Barnable, he tells him that he has a plan, and he's sitting right there in front of the crack that the truth field is emanating from.
Well, right. He says well.
And the truth field has nothing to do with the plot of the episode.
That's true. It doesn't. Well, I mean, that you could. I feel like that has a little wiggle room because the Doctor could have been referring to any plan. He could have just said "Oh, I've got a plan," and that plan could have been to, I don't know, roast more marshmallows. But that wasn't the plan. But then I also don't understand the mechanics of a truth field. Does it mean you? I mean, the whole point of a lie is, I don't know. Maybe the Doctor deluded himself into thinking he really did have a plan or something. I don't know. I don't know how. But yeah. You'd think that there'd be some rules or something. I just don't know. I just don't know.
I kept thinking, at any moment this truth field is suddenly going to become integral to the plot in a way we didn't expect, and that just never happens. It seems like it's just there to justify in retrospect the fact that Dorium said that cool sounding thing at the end of Series 6.
Right.
And so much of this episode just seems like that. It's there to justify in retrospect this thing that sounded cool at the time.
Right. Yeah, I just... it's really frustrating. I mean, it's just... Because it doesn't... This whole episode, it doesn't really do anything, I guess, new, it doesn't carry things forward at all, except for the fact that all these events have now been tied together. But, I mean, that's not terribly interesting. And it just frustrates me.
Yeah. You know what? One of the big things for me is that I liked the Day of the Doctor so much that I'm kind of fine with the fact that this episode wasn't great.
Right. Let's just forget it exists.
Yeah, we can just more or less... I mean, that's one of the great things about Doctor Who. It's different from episode to episode, and then, if there's one you don't like, then there might be another one coming soon that you'll like, even though, we'll have to wait another, 9 months for new Doctor Who.
Well, okay, yeah, and that is another thing, okay, is that's another thing that I was thinking while I watched this episode, is that this is supposed to get me excited for Series 8. This is the thing that Stephen Moffat wants to show me before they go on this 8 or 9 month break, however long. Like, this is the thing that is supposed to keep me, like, excited for that length of time. It's just, I don't know how. How am I supposed to, like, I mean, it's just, this is just not exciting. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Well, I mean, on the one hand, no, but on the other hand, I'm more inclined to coast on the good faith of what came before it. Like, I think we were in agreement that the anniversary year, as a whole for Doctor Who, last time we spoke about it, we were in pretty close agreement that it was pretty much incredible all around. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we said, but it's not over yet. There's still more to come. And that happened to kind of let us down, but still, it doesn't change the fact that all that stuff that happened before was still good.
No, that's true. It was just, they've done a lot of great things. They didn't, stick the landing or whatever. I mean, it's not like I haven't, like, lost faith in Doctor Who or anything like that. But I don't know. This was, because, I mean, I thought this was, I don't know. I guess I just kind of expected that this episode would be the thing that sort of carried me through and was like, yeah, I'm excited for Peter Capaldi now. And I mean, I'm just not at all excited for Peter Capaldi. I mean, like, I know Peter Capaldi's probably going to be amazing, but I just, from what we've seen of him and just, like, the leading up to it, and I don't know, it just didn't do what I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm just disappointed that it didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Well, I think in terms of Peter Capaldi, for his very brief appearance, there's no real sense given about, what's the big deal about Peter Capaldi? What's so great about Peter Capaldi? He is a great actor, but there hasn't been an impression given of what he's going to bring to the role in the, 20 seconds of him that we got here. Whereas I felt like with Matt Smith at the end of Time, I instantly got some kind of picture of, I feel like you got a pretty good picture of what kind of, like, what kind of performance he's bringing to the role and what's great about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the thing is, I even if I wasn't doing this consciously, I was definitely subconsciously comparing this to The End of Time Part 2. And I mean, there's not a lot to go on with that scene, and I mean, there's really, I mean, and that's kind of the thing is this is supposed to like be the thing that I can latch on to, for the better part of a year and focus on that, and then and as like a teaser for what Peter Capaldi is going to do in this upcoming season. And there's just not a lot there's nothing about this performance that really strikes me as being unique to this new incarnation of the Doctor. And I don't know what to do with it. It's just, I don't know. I'm still highly anticipating the next season of Doctor Who. It's just, it does not feel as exciting to me as it may have once felt. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know.
It is kind of weird. So there's a lot about this episode that is introduced and seems like set up for something that's going to go somewhere and then just never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, it starts off with narration where the Tasha Lem character is narrating the story. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of abruptly stops about a third of the way through the episode, I think. And it's never mentioned again. There's no real sense of why that character would be narrating the episode.
Right.
And then there's the whole thing about patching the telephone back through the console unit. And it's like, oh, clearly that's going to be important at some point. And it's not.
Well, right.
And then there's like naked jokes with holograms and like, oh, you can't go to church with your clothes on. Like, oh, well, clearly something's going to happen, or like there's going to be some payoff to that later in the episode, and then there isn't. And then over and over, it's just all these things that just sort of serve no purpose.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just, and you know what? Speaking of payoffs, there wasn't even any Slade in this episode.
There certainly was not, even though part of it was set on contemporary Earth at Christmas.
That's right. That's why I figured it was a sure thing. But yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't go anywhere. I mean, I was sure that like Handles was gonna somehow play into, like, I mean,
I like Handles.
I like Handles too. That was one of the few things that I latched onto that I really liked, was that I thought Handles was like a neat sort of character. And also, if I remember writing this down correctly, I think I put it in my notes somewhere. I felt that he was criminally underutilized is the phrasing I used in my notes, and I think that that's true.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I also think he reminded me of a talking cabbage.
Yeah, there was just, and I mean, this was just really jam-packed with stuff, and there was just really no time. There was really no time devoted to any one thing to really sort of like sink into and really, I don't know. I mean, because it's like there's like when they first teleport down to the planet, you know, there are these angels, and they're like, oh my god, there's these angels, we got to get away. And like they got the TARDIS, and then, you know, then I guess the angels weren't a problem anymore. And then there's like one additional scene where there's like an angel, but I guess he's frozen or something, and I couldn't really.
And the angel grabs right onto Clara,
right,
and doesn't send her back in time or anything.
Yeah,
it's what's going on?
Maybe these angels were just content to have people trip. And that was just the tripping created like a ripple effect in time that was enough to just be like a snack.
Yeah, because they weren't hungry. They didn't want a meal, but they just kind of wanted to be annoying.
Exactly. Sometimes you just want to do that. When you're a quantum locked organism, sometimes you just gotta have your pranks. I think that's what that was about. I'm really confused on Tasha Lem, because I'm not really 100% clear on what she knew and when she knew it, because she seems happy to beam the Doctor down to Trenzalore, but then she dedicates all their resources to stopping him from answering the question.
Well, I think that what happens is it's beaming a signal that's untranslatable.
Right.
And the Doctor is only able to translate it with the use of, and I actually love this, with the use of the seal of the High Council that he stole from the Master during the events of the Five Doctors.
Yeah, I like that.
So by applying that directly to the forehead of Handel's, he is able to translate it. But it also gets big. But because it's now translated, it's broadcast to everyone, and so that's when she finds out what the signal is saying.
Well, right. So she knew. So what you're saying is, she knew that the Doctor shouldn't answer the question, Doctor Who, but she didn't know the planet on which he wasn't supposed to answer it.
No. She didn't know that. She didn't know in advance that there was going to be a question that the Doctor shouldn't answer.
Okay. So, but then how does she know about the Time Lords?
Because I guess she hears his conversation with Clara while everything's being brought. I don't know.
This is my problem.
Well, I don't know. Does she know that it's a message from Gallifrey? Does she know that?
I don't know.
And she hears the message, Doctor Who. I don't know. Somehow she I don't know.
This is my problem. I've watched this episode 4 times, and I can't figure this out.
I watched it 3, and I don't think I could sit through it again.
The fourth one was kind of a struggle for me. Well, no, what happened was I watched it once the first night, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it a third time, and then I was like, immediately after finishing the third time, I was like, well, I might as well just watch it a fourth time, and so then I watched it again.
I watched it with my parents, who almost never watched Doctor Who, and with my little sister, who hasn't seen a single episode since The End of Time Part 2.
Oh my god. Wow.
And they were all very confused.
I imagine that they would be. Come to think of it, that's another thing is, the Christmas episodes were in my mind, the Christmas episodes were kind of meant to be this sort of not necessarily continuity heavy thing for, the family to all get together and like, oh, let's watch the Doctor do something and vanquish some foe on Christmas because it's Christmas. And this episode, I guess what I'm saying is this episode is really disappointing as a Christmas special. It's a disappointment in a lot of ways, but as a Christmas special, it is most definitely a disappointment. And so, yeah. It's just so disappointing.
It is pretty disappointing, and pretty much everyone I've spoken to about the episode disliked it.
I haven't really spoken. Well, actually, I guess I've technically spoken to like my immediate family, and not even my whole immediate family, like really just like my sister and also Melanie. We were like all sort of sitting around and discussing it, and none of us liked it. Although, I
have coworkers who also watch Doctor Who, and they were like, so what'd you think? And I'm like, wasn't good. And they're like, nope, wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so no one I've spoken to in person has had a favorable opinion of this episode. Although it seemed like Reddit seemed to be okay with it.
Yeah, I saw some positive stuff on Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter. I saw some positive stuff from other Doctor Who podcasts.
Oh.
Like Chip of the 2 Minute Time Lord seemed to like it, and the guys from Radio Free Skaro seemed to like it.
Oh.
Hey, what was the point of Clara's family?
Just to be I don't know.
What was the point of the thing that her grandmother said?
About the pigeon? Or no,
not about the pigeon.
Not about the pigeon, right. It was the thing. Yeah.
She apparently that something she said really spoke to Clara, and I didn't really understand why.
Right. Well, I really kind of got the vague sense that Stephen Moffat was trying to sort of do the whole Russell T Davies kind of introduce the companion's family thing.
But they even went so far as to recast her father. For no reason.
I didn't notice that. Because I know we saw him in I guess was it only the Rings of Akaten?
We saw him in the Rings of Akaten at a couple of different points during his life.
Right. Yeah, I haven't watched that episode in a very long time.
He serves no purpose in this episode, so like why not just like not put him in it?
Well, right. Well, yeah, I don't know, because it's very strange because Clara's family has never been a big part of her story, or so it would seem. So, I don't know why bringing them in now is supposed to be this thing. Is what Stephen Moffat trying to say? Is he trying to say that Christmas is a time where you see the people who don't really influence your life all that much and don't really matter to you? Because if that's what it's saying, then I guess he's on to something here. But I don't know.
Presumably, that's exactly what he's going for.
Also, another thing. I hate to drag this question back out from our discussion of Series 6, but has Clara never seen the moon landing? Shouldn't she have been murdering those silences? Silence?
Yes, she should have. What did you think of the explanation for the silence?
That they're priests where you forget the confession?
That made sense to me until I thought about it.
Well, right.
What would be the point of forgetting your own confession? So you go to confession, so it's like you walk in the door, you give a confession, and then you say, okay, I'm done, and then you walk out again, and then you're like, all right, time to give confession, and then you turn around and go into the door, and you'd just be trapped in a never-ending loop, because you'd always remember being about to give a confession.
Right. Yeah, it does not make sense. And also, I thought the whole point... Yeah, and the whole point, I thought, of a confession was, you're supposed to feel better after having gotten that, off your chest. Unless you're actually forgetting the thing you're confessing, you forget that you, I don't know, stole that candy bar or whatever. But, then you're not going to learn your lesson. You're not going to learn that candy bar should not have been stolen. It's just, that doesn't make sense.
No. One thing I did actually kind of like, though, is the explanation for how the Church of the Papal Mainframe became the Church of the Silence.
Yeah.
Because one thing that had bothered me in the past, but I never really thought was ever going to be explained was, why do the clerics love the Doctor in the Time of Angels and the Flesh and Stone, but then they hate him more than anything in A Good Man Goes to War? Why? And then this sort of explains, they rebranded their whole church, and then a group broke away, led by Madame Kavarian, and then they did all the bad stuff. I guess that makes some amount of sense. Basically, it kind of felt like that kind of actually made Series 5 and Series 6 seem less important. Oh yeah, that was all an offshoot. That was the Protestants. That's not the core church. They split off. They went their own way. They don't matter. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Although, yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is Protestants don't matter.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. And, it was funny because actually about that, I didn't pick up on this at first, but I think we were meant to assume, and I think I was just particularly dense on the subject, I think we're meant to assume that well, no, actually, I'm pretty sure we're meant to assume that happened right before, like, that second meeting that they had.
Well, like, it happens in that 300-year gap.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed where she says, "Oh, the Kavarian sect broke away," or the Kavarian chapter, or whatever.
Yeah. And then,
what made you think it was right before?
Well, I thought that was kind of like the thing was like, "Oh, hey, I've got some news for you. By the way, these guys tried to break away. Just letting you know. And also, here's some marshmallows." I
didn't really draw that from it, but you might be right.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's kind of what once again, I think this was on my fourth viewing that I discerned this.
Oh, I should have watched it one more time, shouldn't I have?
Yeah, it would really clear a lot of things up. But I mean, like, and then at that point, also, I don't think it really. Well, and then then the Doctor goes on to mention, like, oh, so that's who blew up my TARDIS, and I mean, like, that's an answer, but it's also, I'm pretty sure, what everyone assumed.
Well, it's definitely the assumption that we had kind of decided on.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of cute, but I mean at the same time, it's, I don't know. I don't know. This whole episode just felt like Stephen Moffat was trying way too hard. But
yeah, it did have a very try hard kind of feeling. I wonder, maybe we would have gotten a better Christmas special if Moffat hadn't insisted on writing it himself. When he was, clearly... I think he probably had more of his attention on the anniversary special.
Yeah.
What if he had just, like, handed it off to Neil Cross or Gatiss or someone?
Yeah. Surely he trusts Mark Gatiss to make a good episode of television. I mean, they're co-producers or co-creators or whatever on Sherlock, so, surely Stephen trusts Gatiss to do stuff. So I could have seen that. But I mean, like, yeah, I don't know why Stephen Moffat was so, just really wanted to wrap all these things up. I just don't understand.
It could be that he basically took the complaints to heart when people would complain about it.
I guess.
That it could be just like,
so,
you want your explanation? Fine. Here's your explanation.
So he intentionally wrote, and what was it, Attack of the Cybermen? So he intentionally did that. So really, this is our fault.
Yeah.
This episode is our fault.
Yep, we wrote this episode.
I feel shame at this. I am personally responsible for this episode. We have
created this episode by being bad fans.
Yeah, we should have just accepted everything that Stephen Moffat was doing unquestioningly, and we didn't. And now this is our punishment, which apparently some people liked. So I guess for some people it wasn't a punishment.
It had one of the lowest appreciation index scores of the Matt Smith era.
Oh, really?
In the UK. I mean, still it had a pretty good score. I think it was like 81 or something. Which out of a possible 100, but it's really hard to get higher than like 90.
Oh, wow. So, wait, is that 81 is one of the lowest?
Of the Matt Smith era.
Oh, okay. Well, but, so, wow. Okay.
Doctor Who routinely does, like, in the high 80s or low 90s.
Oh, okay. So there's not that much of a range anyway.
Yeah, there isn't that much of a range.
Okay. So, like, getting, like, a 50 or, like, a failing grade or whatever, that's, like, almost impossible.
I wouldn't say it's almost impossible because Doctor Who actually got some pretty low scores in the classic era.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but for whatever reason, the new series, people seem to like it more.
Oh, maybe people have just become less jaded.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that, actually.
Also, speaking of things that didn't go anywhere, the whole thing about Christmas, like the town of Christmas having like really short days, yeah. I thought that was going to be significant somehow.
I hadn't thought that, but
because I mean, there's no point to it though. I mean, he's like, oh well, I go up there every morning to remind myself what I'm doing, and
well,
then
just
it's over
because
again.
it's always winter there.
Yeah, but it's like 15 minutes. Not even. It's like one scene.
Well, I guess I just don't know.
Yeah, well, me neither. But I mean, like, also, how is the whole town not vitamin D deficient?
They probably are.
Could be.
Why can Tasha Lem fly the TARDIS?
Yeah.
Huh? Why? Why can she undalek herself?
Right. Yeah, that's just, that is my response. It's just,
Yeah. And what was the point of making the Daleks forget the Doctor in Asylum of the Daleks?
Probably because it was a cool thing to do. I don't know. Because, yeah, this is almost like how Russell T Davies would have to, like, really defeat the Daleks forever every time that he put them in an episode. They would always need an explanation for why they were back, and then, there would always be some thing to thwart them forever to, get rid of them permanently, and then that would be then, explained away. So, same thing here. Only it's just a different kind of it. It's like, oh, the Daleks forget the Doctor. So, that could be, it's a world where the Daleks don't know who the Doctor is. And then it's completely reverted.
There's an episode where the big thing at the end is that they forget the Doctor. In the next episode we see the Daleks, it's Time War era Daleks, so they still know the Doctor. Fine, that makes sense. And then the next episode after that where we see the Daleks, it's the post-Time War Daleks, so they don't know the Doctor, and then they immediately just figure it out.
Yeah,
and seem to know how many regenerations he's used up.
Right. Yeah, that's an oddly specific amount of information. Yeah, and actually, like, yeah, how do they know that?
They know that Journey's End counts. They know.
Right. Somehow they must know that. That's actually kind of another disappointing thing, is that the way in which they circumvent the regeneration limit is just by the Time Lords giving the Doctor another set. That's just
which was introduced in the Five Doctors. Right.
Yeah, so maybe this whole episode is really just a callback to the Five Doctors.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, it's just such a missed opportunity in my mind that Stephen Moffat could have done something really interesting and fun and cool and interesting. I don't know, to circumvent it. Like, well, it's just I don't even know. I mean, but it is just so. He could have really, I don't know. It's just, he could have really reinvented the show in, like, a cool way, but he didn't.
Yeah, I feel like there are different arrangements of these same ideas that might have been more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the big thing is that, the Doctor dies at Trenzalore.
Right.
Well, now he doesn't anymore.
Well,
because time was rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of disappointing, but also it kind of makes sense because, well, I mean, if you need to rewrite time, we've already established in Series 5 that the Cracks can do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that a new regeneration cycle is delivered to him through the Cracks in time to change history, that in and of itself I don't think is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I just feel like if they had sort of built more suspense around it, such that the crack in time maybe showed up at the climactic moment instead of like just showing up at the beginning of the episode and be like, why are we bringing back the cracks in time? What does that have to do with anything? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't know.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I mean, I don't know, this could just not be the story that Stephen Moffat wants to tell or whatever, but I mean, I would have personally been fine with having Matt Smith have to make some sacrifice under the impression that he was going to die for real, and then have him regenerate into Peter Capaldi, and then being left to wonder why that happened. And then, we go off, the episode ends with, Peter Capaldi wondering, or, well, rather, the 12th Doctor wondering, how he regenerated, why that was a thing, and then,
I would have been really angry if that happened.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, if we didn't know why.
Really?
Yeah, if he regenerated if he regenerated for a 13th regeneration, and we didn't know why, and it's like, ooh, it's the next big mystery. And you're like, oh, stop it.
I suppose. I don't know. I think that would have... But that's the kind of thing, though, is that would have... Well, I don't know. By that same token, then you would have... Yeah, I would be wary of that, I guess, just because God only knows how Stephen Moffat would have tried to rationalize that. Better to just say outright that, the Time Lords just gave him a new set. I don't know. But it's just...
One of the things I would have liked is I would have liked to have seen the sequence of events that results in the Doctor dying and the TARDIS being his tomb.
Yeah.
So we know that history has been changed, but we don't know what happened in the original history where the Doctor dies.
Well, right, yeah.
So what's changed? What element changed? Was there a version of history where Clara wasn't there to ask the Time Lords to give him a new regeneration cycle? What is the change that happened?
Well, right, because the only reason that the Doctor was there, and the only reason he couldn't speak his name, was because the Time Lords were there. So the
Through the crack in time, yeah.
Right, through the crack in time. So that would have absolutely could not have changed. I mean, unless... Well, right, because otherwise you're repurposing what Trenzalore was. And, I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I would assume that the problem would still be that the crack exists. I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe the difference is that the Time Lords, in the universe where he didn't get another set, like, the Time Lords were just kind of, I don't know, just misers who refuse to give the Doctor another set of regenerations. But that also raises the question of what would have happened. Like, I mean, that final scene would have been the Doctor dying, and then the Daleks destroy the crack or just burn Christmas to the ground, and then I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing to think about. And I mean, I'm not really clear on what the Doctor thought he was accomplishing by just protecting the crack for as long as he could.
Well, in that case, what happened was if he left, the Church of the Papal Mainframe would have burned the planet.
Okay.
So he had to stay.
Okay. So they just didn't want to kill the Doctor?
Essentially, no.
All right. So, yeah, I guess I just don't know.
So as long as he was there protecting it, they were satisfied that, the Time War wasn't going to suddenly resume.
Okay. So, but then, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just confused on what that was. Like, I mean, it was, yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, the Doctor knew he wasn't going to live forever. He wasn't, like, coming up with some kind of plan, unless he just ran out of ideas.
Yeah, he probably just ran out of ideas.
Maybe that's Stephen Moffat inserting himself into the story.
Maybe, haha. Hey, how did you feel about the monoids?
I thought that was cute.
Yeah, that was very cute.
I appreciated that. I don't know. It would have been cool to see the monoids back, though, like, for real. Like, if they had gotten tired of, I don't know. Wait, how does that story end? The monoids are still around when that story ends, right?
The monoids make friends with the humans and the refugians.
Oh, right. So, like, maybe the monoids got tired of the humans and the refugians and decided to go try and decode this message. And so
yeah, they were bored.
So they decided to come. Maybe, I mean, I guess we don't really have any evidence to support, to know for sure that they weren't there. Because there were a lot of different ships there.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. At some point, the monoids tried to invade, and the Doctor repelled them off, and that's how the townspeople ended up making puppets of them.
Yeah. So there you go. I would have liked to have seen them for real, though, because, I mean, that would have been...
That's true.
Maybe... I wonder if their expository dialogue got any better.
I wonder. Maybe they should have just had monoids explain all of the backstory instead of doing it the way they did. Maybe they should just have had monoids. It's like, tell me again why the TARDIS exploded.
Yeah, I think that would have worked a lot better. That's another thing. I don't know. This is just getting back to just the sort of amount of stuff that they crammed into this episode. And just there's a lot of things that I don't know, just didn't really have enough time to shine. I think. I mean, and there were these things that I liked, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it was too much. It was just too much.
Too much. What did you think of Matt Smith's final moments?
Well, like, so I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted on this because I really liked the content of his final speech. Like, I thought that was like a neat kind of speech, but I mean, I don't know, it's something about the way he delivered it. Kind of sounded like he was drunk.
The way he delivered it, and also the goddamn Rings of Akaten music that was playing under it. It just reminded me so much of Rings of Akaten because of that music.
Right, and that's no good, of course.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember this, but also he had a big speech in that episode that I really didn't like.
That's right.
So it reminded me of, like, not liking Matt Smith speeches.
Yeah, I don't know. This final speech had a lot working against it. I actually did not dislike the Rings of Akaten as much as you, and I feel like for that, I didn't have such a strong aversion to that music being used, and I actually I was okay with that. But yeah, I don't know, something about the delivery of that speech, just like the speech in this episode, I don't know. It almost didn't seem very consistent with Matt Smith's performance of the Doctor. I mean, I guess you could explain it away by saying that, he was, I don't know, high on regeneration energy or something.
Yeah. But something about it was kind of off. And what'd you think of the cameo from Amy?
I thought it was it's funny because a majority of Matt Smith's time on the show was with Karen Gillan, and so in some sense it makes sense to bring back Amy, because I mean I feel like it's kind of important to do. Like, I mean, I feel like this is kind of the big thing. Like, I mean, right before Ten regenerates, he goes and visits Rose, and that's like a big moment for him. So I mean, in a sense, hallucinating Amy, that's also an equally.
I hated that.
Oh,
so
really?
Much. Oh, I couldn't stand it. That was one of my least favorite things in the episode. It was like you walk into the TARDIS and then there's a bowl of fish fingers and custard. It's like, oh, that's cute. And then like he sees running through the TARDIS, he sees young Amelia. Only it's not young Amelia. It's not Caitlin Blackwood. It's some other little girl with red hair that doesn't even look like her. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, fine. And then suddenly Amy walks down for no reason and is like, goodbye, Raggedy Man. And it's like, oh, stop it. This isn't good. Stop it. Oh, I was so mad at that point. I just wanted it to be over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, having said all those things, I do think it makes. I mean, yeah, it was kind of ridiculous and over the top, but I think it does make sense to bring her back. But I also feel like it also just makes the whole thing seem kind of weird that Clara was there for half a season, and we're supposed to assume, or we're supposed to I guess infer that she's really bonded with the Doctor and they're really close now. But I mean, very little of it was actually shown. And so, in these final moments, they bring back Amy, who had much more time with the Doctor, and they had actual adventures, and there were actual big stakes that they had to overcome or whatever, and so kind of just sort of, I don't know, it was weird to me. Like, it was almost like I just don't know. It made me. I don't know. I feel like
I would have liked it better if they had both taken their wigs off
and swapped them.
Yeah, they swapped wigs.
Yeah. I think that would have really improved the scene. But yeah, no, I don't know. Something about that just seems kind of weird to me, because it just feels like, Clara's right there. I mean, come on. And,
I know. It makes it feel like Clara's second class. Like,
right.
Oh, here's the important companion. Come to say a final goodbye.
Right. It would have been as if, the Fifth Doctor had hallucinated Nyssa as he regenerated into Colin Baker.
Well, he did.
Well, all right.
He hallucinated all his companions.
Well, yeah, but like, if he only hallucinated her, and that was just like it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird is my point.
It's funny you should actually say that. At some point you should listen to a Big Finish audio called Circular Time.
Okay.
Which provides an interesting new perspective on the Fifth Doctor's regeneration into the Sixth Doctor.
Really?
And it does in fact involve Nyssa.
No way.
Yeah.
So I'm onto something.
Yeah. Without spoiling too much for you, basically what happens is he hallucinates Nyssa.
Oh, well then.
He has a hallucinatory adventure with in which he visits an older Nyssa many years after she has left the TARDIS.
Okay, wow. So, all right. Well, you know what? I actually can't have a problem with this final scene anymore because apparently there's precedent.
There is precedent and Big Finish. Clearly, this was a reference to Circular Time.
Right. Yes, I think so. And I guess that means that Circular Time is now canon, if there was ever any doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just it was very weird seeing her. You know, I think that on the one hand, I think that it's a nice sort of look back, but it also just reminds me that, oh hey, she was the main companion until very recently. So it's yeah, I don't know. It feels like yeah, I don't know. It does. It just makes Clara feel like a second class citizen. I don't know.
I feel like it's kind of pushy of the show in a way that, like, it's also kind of true with the 10th Doctor, where the show is just kind of pushing you to say, hey, this is this Doctor's iconic companion. This is their one and only companion. With the 10th Doctor, the show kind of pushes you to think of it as Rose. Mm-hmm. And with the 11th Doctor, the show kind of pushes you to think of it as Amy. Whereas with the classic series, I mean, for instance, the 4th Doctor, you might well think his iconic companion is Sarah Jane, but I might well think it's Romana II. And there are different ways of, like, the show doesn't like push you to sort of envision a particular companion as having a particular importance above and beyond all the rest.
Yeah. So,
like for instance, my favorite companion for the 10th Doctor is Donna. Mm-hmm. But the show says that I am wrong.
Yeah, that's true. The show does say that. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I do think that was kind of, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. I guess, the Doctor could have spent all of the latter half of Series 7, kind of mourning Amy and Rory and wishing he could get back to them and trying to, thinking like, oh, if Amy was here, she'd say the very perfect thing that would make me realize exactly what the problem was.
That'd be great.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, it's just kind of weird in general because, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, the 10th Doctor, he went through companions, one every season. He was constantly traveling with new people. And so, the 11th Doctor's run is kind of imbalanced in that it was Amy a whole season, Amy another whole season, and then Amy a half season. And then it's Clara for half a season. I mean, and it could very well be that, years from now, we're gonna really remember Clara as being a 12th Doctor companion, and that could very well be. But I mean, at this point in time, it just kind of feels weird and lopsided. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I really liked?
What?
The actual moment of regeneration itself.
How quick it was?
Yeah. How it's all this, like, big emotional build-up, and then he basically sneezes himself into being Peter Capaldi.
Yeah. I have to say that was a good way to go. Well, yeah, because I was wondering about that because it seems like they've been pretty consistent with how the regeneration worked. Like, there was the regeneration energy that kind of shot out of their head and hands, and then like there'd be this bright light, and then it would just and then like their face would change, and then that would be it.
Yeah, back in the day when Doctor Who Confidential existed. There was a Doctor Who Confidential episode about the episode Utopia, which was the second regeneration we saw in the new series. And that's when Derek Jacobi regenerates into John Sim. And I think they talked about how, we thought of a couple different ideas for what we might do for this regeneration, but we thought that, at this point we still haven't fully explained who the Master is, so we decided that the best way to sell this to the audience is to provide a consistent visual language that works with what they will already have seen from the 9th Doctor regenerating into the 10th Doctor. So the regeneration looks almost exactly the same.
Right.
But then they just kept doing it, and having a consistent visual look for regeneration is completely inconsistent with the classic series.
Right. Yeah, because it seems like it's different every time, especially with like the Watcher. Like, how do you explain that? But yeah. So it's kind of funny because all the Doctors were unique, and all their regenerations were unique too, until we got to the new series. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So yeah, I like that was changed, and I don't know.
I liked how it kind of fakes you out though, like, because it has similar effects on the hands with the regeneration energy and stuff like that, and it sort of lulls you into the idea that you know exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then something completely unexpected happens.
Yeah.
Which was probably my favorite part of the entire episode.
That something completely unexpected happened?
Yep. About 30 seconds before the end of the episode.
Well, better late than never, I think, is the way that expression goes.
I think that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think that's kind of cool. And maybe that's... I hope not, but, well, you know what? I don't know what I hope. What I was going to say was maybe that's just how the regenerations are going to go with this new set. I mean, like, because that could kind of be the thing, is like, this is a new set, so there's new rules or whatever. But, I mean, better still would be that there's no consistent way for regeneration to work, and that's a fine thing too. Because this is a new set, and I don't know. I feel like it would be cool if they did new things.
Yep, it would be cool.
Something that I wasn't really clear on. What happened to Gallifrey? Does it? I mean,
it changed its mind.
So it's decided it's not gonna come back to this universe.
I guess, I don't know.
Well, because the Doctor never said his name, so I mean, if they were still following the rules of, well, we're not going to enter this universe until we know for sure that that it's the same Doctor we know and love, So
if we don't love the Doctor,
yeah. So
well, because she says if you love him, give him a new regeneration. So I'm kind of wondering who it was who made the decision.
Oh, yeah.
Who was it who was touched by those words? I think it was the Master.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
If you love him, and then he has a moment of pure love for the Doctor.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, the Master kept disguising himself and putting himself in all those weird situations just so that the Doctor would notice him, and just, it was really just it's been this long thing where he just really wants he loves the Doctor, and he wants to be loved by him.
Exactly.
And that's all he wants. That's all he's ever wanted.
For the most part.
Yeah. Well,
also a new regeneration cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just got a bunch of those and now he's handing them out like candy.
He raided like the regeneration cycle, closet or whatever when the Time Lords weren't looking.
Yeah. We don't know what happens after he and Timothy Dalton get sent back into the time lock, so
yeah,
presumably something happens and then he gets regeneration cycles.
Yeah, I think like the Time Lords probably keep all the regeneration cycles in like a vault, like Scrooge McDuck, and the Master has just been like swimming in regeneration cycles.
I hope so.
I think that's how it. But in my mind, this is how it works. So I mean, I guess that means at any point Gallifrey could come back if it so chose. I guess in spite of everything, I am interested to see what they are going to do going forward, because it seems like everything's been wrapped up and there's not a whole lot to do. I mean, obviously it's Doctor Who, they can do whatever they want, but I don't know. I'm just interested to see what I don't know. There's I guess if anything, what I can say about this episode is that it was a definite palate cleanser, in that I don't have any expectations for Series 8 now. I have no idea what Series 8 is even going to be about.
Yeah, it's true. And we don't know when it's going to show up exactly either. We think it's going to show up in the autumn, but we just don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, if nothing else, it has cleared my mind of expectations. Because I just don't know. Yeah. I think it's good to not know.